Hello, beautiful ones. I hope you're all doing well wherever you are. I want to make a video today about the pressure that some of us humans put on ourselves to be a certain way. So whether it be to be more spiritual, to be more enlightened, to be better people, to be more loving, they're all things that are great for us to strive as humans. And there are a lot of things that maybe go against our programming and against what we've been taught and against what our ancestors maybe did in the past. And so we put this pressure on us to be something, and we strive to be something, and when we don't achieve or we don't see the results, or maybe we have a down day, then we guilt and shame ourselves, or we make ourselves feel bad over not being good enough, over not being spiritual enough, not being loving enough, not being light enough. And part of what the message that I bring forth is this idea that we're actually all of it, and that we don't have to strive to be just one thing, because we are all of it. We are, as I've said, multidimensional beings, and so we exist in many different densities. So for example, if you're trying to be enlightened, loving, spiritual, know that you have an aspect like that of yourself already, meaning that you already exist as that you're trying to become. And so it's not so much about you changing yourself, it's more about you aligning to who you truly are, you aligning to that higher power, that expansive love that you are. And by aligning to it, you will notice that it will start to change the way that you behave, the things that you want to do. And for a lot of us that are going through the awakening right now, and that are just going through the thick of it, I just want to tell you to hang in there, because it doesn't last forever, meaning that you'll have some moments that will feel like the dark night of the soul. You hear about that, and I definitely have had a few of those. Times where, one of the worst ones was like, I was just angry. I was angry at God. I was angry at my source. I was angry at myself. I was angry at everything. And I remember I literally tore everything in my room. I just moved everything around, and I was just crying, and I was just so upset. But it's so crazy, because once you get through one of those, you come out of it so much lighter. It's almost like by going through that dark night of the soul, you release some of that heaviness that you've been carrying around with you that's no longer necessary. And so we go through a lot of those, and it really depends on the individual. But once you get through them, you realize that you're actually a lot lighter, and that you are in a much better shape than you ever thought you could be internally. And so it does have its ups and downs, where you might feel down, but that changes also. So even now I have days and moments where I'm kind of I just don't feel as chirpy or as good as other times, but my overall frequency is definitely almost set now, to where it seems to always go back to the same space. And so I'm aware of myself, as are all of us, that we're living all multiple infinite lives, and that we can actually tap into ourselves and connect to ourselves and tap into all those things. And then also that it's not just our physical body that is ascending, it's all our bodies are ascending. Think about how many bodies you have. Not all of them are visible with the naked eye, but you do have a lot of bodies that are also ascending. So the whole unit, the whole the whole being is going through this ascension, this awakening process that appears to be sequential, so one after another, but it's all happening right now, and we already exist in this awakened, ascended state, as we always have, as a matter of fact. But when we come here, we take up, as part of this game, part of this play, we decide that we want to forget that. We don't want to remember that, and we want to be, live a human existence, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've talked about how I would feel bad, because I'd be like, I'm acting like a human again. It's like I am human. If I was to say I'm Pleiadian, I'm Andromedan, or I'm minor, or anything else, I'd be cheating myself, because I'm all of it. I'm not just one, I'm not just from one plane, or from one space, or one planet. And it's for all of us. We're from all of them. And it's really interesting. I'm going to make a more in-depth video about reality, how we experience it, how it truly is, and how we are actually all existing in the same space. And so all the planes, all the dimensions are all existing in this space. And there is a type of veil that was lifted, I guess in a way you can say, or created, that allowed us to not be aware of those higher realities or those dimensions that are also existing alongside of us. And so we have become unaware of a life that is here with us, and seem to think that we're the only ones here, when in fact there's more life than you can actually imagine. And when in fact the life, in any life that you meet, wheresoever it is you meeting yourself, is you meeting all that is. And as each of us, being that we're creators because we mirror our source, that prime creator intelligence, so we also want to create, so it's interesting because we forget that we are of the source and that we're one with that source, and yet we mirror that source. We want to create, we want to do something, we want to have babies, procreate, and create new things. And so we're still in that source, we're still living there, we haven't left it, and we can always turn to that source whenever we want. That source will not turn you away. One of the things that I found in the beginning, when I first started to connect consciously, was that I was ashamed because I was going through such a difficult moment in my life that I was having a lot of dark thoughts and just feeling kind of negative. And so when I connected to this source that I am, this source was all loving. It was all encompassing. There was no part of me that was left out. There was no, the darkness is bad and it needs to be condemned. And it wasn't all of that. It's that the source and what we are realizes and sees the big picture and realizes that the dark and the light are both aspects of the same source, and they're all playing out their roles beautifully and perfectly, and that there are no victims and no perpetrators. Because one thing that I realized was that I've been that. We've all been those things that we judge in another. We've all been that. I realized that I had been, the murderer, the everything in another lifetime, other lifetimes, and yet I'm sitting here judging the people that have done bad things. And that's what we do, right? Because that's what we do, we judge. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. But the truth of it is that we have no grounds to judge anyone on, because we've all fucked up. We've all done some really, really, really messed up shit in our life. Really, let's be honest. So, and if we haven't done it in this lifetime, trust me, you've done it in another one. So, but that source that we are doesn't see us that way. It's so interesting. It does not see us that way. It sees us as our full potential. It sees us as who we truly are. It is aware of the fact that we're having this experience because it is having that experience through us also, right? And I say it, but obviously there's no name, no word that could encompass what source is. I say source because I have no better word for it, but it's everything that is. And so, it's had many names and it's okay. But with that source, it sees us as beautiful, wonderful children, and it doesn't see us as like evil. It doesn't see us as bad. And it forgives us. Like it's already forgiven us before we even asked for forgiveness. I had this epiphany, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. I talk a lot about forgiveness, which means that I'm working on it myself. Everything I talk about are things that, most of the things I talk about are things that I've gone through or that I've heard other people go through. And a lot of the things are just kind of channeled, I guess you would say. It's like my higher self, my team. A lot of the questions that I have and a lot of things that come through in these videos is also, I'm channeling my higher self. And I am aware of the fact that I am one with that higher self that is one with source. And so I laugh because sometimes that's all I can do. This life, we take it so seriously and we forget to play, and we forget that, we're loved, that we're whole, that we're complete, that we're beloved, and that we are loved in infinite ways. And it doesn't matter what we've done. What I saw was when I was doing my forgiving work, I saw that I saw my child. I have a son, and I saw my child, and I realized that I had things to ask him for forgiveness, but I realized that I didn't have anything to forgive him for. So I was like, well, I can't really say I forgive you, please forgive me, because I'm like, I don't have anything to forgive you for. So I had this sudden image that that's how our source sees us. That I saw that that's how source saw me. It saw me as pure, as beautiful, and it did not see me as someone that needed to be forgiven. It understood where I came from. It understood why I was doing the things that I was doing, and it held me in compassion and love and in grace, despite whatever I was feeling, however I was judging myself. And so, hey, hi Moon. And so I realized that, and it really helped me, to realize, like, this is how our source sees us, and we have the ability to see others the same way. We have the ability to forgive others. We have the ability to forgive ourselves, which I know I talk a lot about in this video. And I talk a lot about it because I know that a lot of us have that issue where we're either unable to forgive ourselves or we're unable to forgive others. And I know that part of our awakening and our ascension process is actually forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. And I also know that the power of forgiveness is it's massive, it's transformative. And so I always talk about that, and I do encourage forgiveness. So anyways, I'm going to stop here because I could probably go on for a long time. And I do want to make a video. I will make a video on the densities, the realities, what's going on right now. But I have to prepare for it. So I don't miss out on anything. And I have to explain everything the way it's meant to be. So anyways, you guys have a beautiful day. I love you all, wherever you are. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to play today. Don't forget what it was like to be a kid. Remember that feeling of being a kid when you felt free and you could just go out and play? You can still experience that as an adult. You don't have to miss out on that. That inner child that you are is still there with you, always kind of like knocking on your door, like, hey. And I check in with my little one, I'm like, hey, what do you want to do today? And I notice that when I don't do that, when I leave her out, I'm not as happy. So from my experience, it's really important to connect with your inner child. It's important to forgive. It's important to be. It's important to accept yourself where you are, and not judge yourself or hold yourself in contempt because you're not where you want to be, because you actually already exist as that thing that you want to be. You already enlightened. So I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.